Welcome everyone to What the Fiction, and today we are covering The King, The Eternal Monarch, episodes 9 to 12, and with me is Nat.
Hi.
And Caitlin.
Hello.
Welcome back, both of you. This show has been a roller coaster of ups and downs and good and bad and questionable editing choices. That is maybe the thing that I have struggled with the most is like, okay, wait, where are we? What's going on? And like already through a barrier of a second language and a cultural difference. And then on top of that, I like to call it like loopy editing, like, because it's like it's like it goes forward, it shows you something that it's going to show you in a little bit, and then it goes way back to explain how it got there, and then goes forward again, and then does that again. And so on top of a show that already has time travel, interdimensional travel, multiple people playing like different versions of themselves, it literally has that on top of it just to confuse us, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that Robin Williams from Jumanji. What year is it? You know, like, I don't know what's going on at
All
any
the
given
time.
But it's actually, some of the threads seem to be resolving a little bit more now, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because it was getting a little much.
Yeah, I think the middle set of episodes of this series, I think, has been the hardest for me. But the beginning and then like episodes 11 and 12, I was like, oh yeah, I like this show. Because yeah, some of the editing and like not being sure where we are at any given point, and it wasn't just a couple of times to be misleading because it is a time travel show, and so like it's gonna be confusing, but to the point where like every scene I would need to rewind and be like, did I miss something? Like where are we again? And it was much. It was a little much.
I do think that some of that is purposeful, for good or for bad, like to try to confuse us, especially like, is the bookstore in both places? You know, is the, you know, where is he? What is going on? And only through kind of repetition and knowing, like tracking, especially where the characters realize that people are at certain times, do we actually get a better feeling of where we are. Because it seems like it's a lot easier now to figure out, oh, we're in the Kingdom of Korea, oh, we're in the Republic of Korea. Like it seems like it's gotten easier, but maybe it's just because we're used to the chaos.
I think both, honestly. Yeah, I think the bookstore is the best example because I could never remember where is the bookstore, and if they only show the same characters inside the bookstore but we never leave the bookstore.
Yeah,
I was like, where are we supposed to be? Does it matter? I don't know. It was
hard
for a while. Yeah. I thought the bookstore was also one of the interdimensional places, like where maybe that's how he was passing messages or resources. I still don't know. But maybe that's on one of my theories. Is the bookstore special?
Yeah.
We won't know.
Well, one of them has been shot up, so I don't know how special it is anymore. That was
a crime scene now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, yeah. And we actually got an actual beheading scheduled over the course of this thing, so it wasn't just like
empty threats. No longer.
The switch in Lee Gone from like cute cuddly king to murdering everyone was so immediate. Like it was a little bit of whiplash, honestly. I was like, did he really just tell them to go and shoot up that bookstore? It was honestly kind of jarring. Like I'm not really sure how I feel about it, but I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And even the prisoner was like, we don't do beheadings here anymore, and he's like, watch me.
Like, I'm the king, I make the laws. Yeah, no, I agree with you completely because I actually wasn't as invested in his character until he was, completely soaked in blood and just
until he became a murder boyfriend.
I have my needs. I'm sorry, and they've been filled.
I was like, oh no, Nat will finally find him attractive again.
Yeah.
He definitely is like more attractive, and I love him. I think he's so attractive.
Great.
Him in Legend of the Blue Sea, I was just completely in love. But the blood on the face, it works.
Absolutely. It also like it seemed to also show how frustrated he was with, because like you think about it, like just, the episodes a couple of before, Leland was not against just murdering straight up citizens of his country. Like it has gotten to the point where he's just like, no, I'm not messing around anymore. And yeah, if this was reality, we would all have a big problem with this and his methods. But it's not, so we can enjoy him being semi-tyrannical. Like his uncle was like, I had no idea he was a bloodthirsty tyrant. Wow. It was like, okay.
Yeah, it did feel a bit like a switch. Like 1 second, he's just being cute, and the next he's out for literal blood.
Yeah. And I think having the whole context of Prince Buyong being, killed, just straight up walked into his house and killed him, Leland did. And I think that really kind of set the bar in terms of, okay, this is war, and we're going to have to fight war by war standards, which is just basically, we're going to take out everybody that we can. We're not going to ask questions, and we're going to send a message because, these people have been confident in their ability to do what they've been doing for 25 years. So
yeah, and it didn't seem like it was out of maybe his capability to do that and to suddenly be like, no, I'm a soldier, because he is one. Like that was part of, like, he was an active participant in the Navy.
He's a sailor.
Yeah. But like to me it just seems like it was actually like just him kind of going into military mode.
Agree.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think the combination too of his, of Prince, what is the uncle's name?
Buyong, I think.
Buyong, who was killed, and then also realizing, like, when they shot up the bookstore, and he realizes that the bookstore owner is not who he thought he was, and realizing even more just how many people have been swapped and killed, and that he really has no idea what's going on in a lot of this, as far as like who is around him, who has been swapped out, and all of this, and still trying to keep track of, like, the really interesting tidbit that was dropped in one of these episodes, I don't remember, of that the time between when time stops is getting longer.
The dilation.
Both worlds will just stop altogether. That seemed really big.
I just think that's a great horror concept in general for being the one person where time has stopped. And I just love that scene where they're taking the picture
and he cries because he's like, he realizes.
And he has time to pull himself back together because, he doesn't want to flip back into the picture crying. But it's just, that's a horror concept. It's a very good one too.
Yeah, it really makes you think that it will come down to both worlds being stopped and him and his uncle just having the final standoff.
Yeah. And it also gives us like that escalation in the story to like this realization gives us the, oh shoot, we actually do need to solve this, and maybe things can only be solved one way. By like breaking the flute or breaking the gates or actually separating the worlds forever. I don't know. Like I kind of hope, because there definitely seems to be and one thing that we'll get into is like the coffee shop owner Nari has a dream or a daydream of herself in the other world, so it feels like also, and we know the PM has seen herself in the black mirror of her screen and stuff like that, so we know that these things are getting bigger and they're closer, and like so not just on top of the threat of everything freezing forever,
The stakes are really high because they're
Yes.
affecting so many people because of the fact that there has been such this mass transfer of individuals between the realms. I just loved the scene with the lightning storm where everybody's starting to break down because everybody that's passed through, everybody, we know that there's exceptions to it, is experiencing this. And how often is this going to happen? Is it, is this for the rest of their lives? Is it going to get worse? Is it going to be, we just don't have the answers to that. But it definitely goes to show that the fact that these two universes are merging and coexisting is causing them to destroy each other, which is pretty actually, like, if in quantum physics and weird stuff like that, like it's a pretty common trope, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else before we get into the episodes? No?
The comedy and the acting continues to be one of the big draws of the show for me. And I really love, even despite the editing and the qualms that I have with it, and also just not being able to pay attention sometimes because it feels like it almost has like a Transformers level, like flipping between things, and then you'll have really slow scenes where they're doing the.
That's such a great way to describe it. Yes.
There's lots of pacing kind of challenges, I think.
Yeah, because your brain isn't even done processing what you just saw, so like it's hard to get invested into the actual story when you're watching the next scene. But that said, I do think that they have a really strong cast and a really strong chemistry between that cast that's really pushing this forward. So
I will say that the lead couple definitely won me back over in episodes 11 and 12.
Yeah. Well, we were commenting on how it didn't feel earned yet, and now it feels earned, which is nice.
It's almost like they've just skipped past the earning and we're just in like complete angst, but they're really selling it. Like I remember that we missed some of the earning that we should have had, but I'm with you.
They even said it in the show too. They're like, "Oh yeah, we've really skipped a lot of things." Like their relationship just went from "we're married now," or to "we're married now." And and it didn't have as any real conflict outside of can they're from different worlds. So now that we have the conflict, which is becoming more and more apparent, it's getting better.
Yeah, definitely is.
And what's that conflict for those of us that is not aware of those conflicts? Being me. It's that they're going to be separated, right?
Yeah,
well, I think that like their conflict is that is there actually a chance that they're going to be together? I did finally watch Crash Landing Into You on your recommendation from the last stream, Caitlin. And yes, the conflict the entire time is them wanting to get together, but they cannot be together in the way that they think that they can be together. And so they have this very all I can think of is Pirates of the Caribbean 3 way of being together in the end, spoiler-ish alert, but like where they find a way to make it work for them. And like I was literally talking with somebody the other day, and her husband lives like across the world and they only see each other once a year for like 3 weeks. And that is literally how people like live, some people. So like, I can understand, like they have other ways of communicating, but like sometimes that's the only way that you can actually have a relationship with somebody because of your circumstances or whatever. And if it works for them, who are we to judge, right? Just kind of like that's the conflict.
Crash Landing on You is like it's all about the most uncrossable line, which is North and South Korea. And then this show is kind of starting to take us into the same direction of the uncrossable line of the road of lightning and thunder. And if it does come to the point of like the doors can no longer be open anymore, then they have to make that decision of if it's just for like if they keep the doors open, that's a selfish choice for the two of them just to be together when they probably need to be closed, like what Nat was saying about the worlds colliding and like this can never happen again, basically. But I think that'll come later. I think that the more immediate conflict will be, it looks like in the preview for next week, Taewol is going to be talking to Luna. And so if Luna is threatening her family, Taewol's going to definitely want to go back. And Ligon's going to be like, I don't know if you can.
Because time might stop forever.
Like you might not be able to get back. And so it's like Ligon or her family when this murderer who is her doppelganger is there. I think
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna suck.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see more of Luna, and I'm really wondering what her motivation is because I still don't feel it's clear. Like it's great that she was very much like, I'm not going to be your ally, I'm not going to be part of your plan. But then she broke, when she saw that her other self was living a complete life that she didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And we already, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I feel like her character is more complex, and I'm really excited to see that develop. And I'm just praying it's not just a general, oh, I need to get revenge on my other self,
Yeah. I didn't get that impression that it was necessarily that, because she seems to be viewing her choice as a non good person choice, that she's choosing to maybe take what's hers, like with the conversation with bookstore yo-yo boy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you believe in God? Do you believe there's a God or whatever? And then she's like, well, then I'm definitely going to hell for what I'm about to do. Because
she's doing this. You can tell she's doing this because she wants to live. She's been offered a way out from a terminal illness, and what else are you gonna do?
She wants to live, and she wants to be able to have maybe a reason to live with that. Her dad that in the other realm or whatever, know what it's like to live. It could be that she's actually not trying to live long term, but she's just trying to have an opportunity to live and have a life in the short term. And in Luna's honor, we're all kind of dressed like Luna. I found my most Luna wig.
I just try to do goth makeup. I was going to put a hoodie on, but it's 85 degrees here in Arkansas. So
fair. And you're the cat Luna, who she took her name from.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this so much. All right. So let's get on to episode 9, where Gong draws closer to tracking down Lim and asks Jo Eun-sup to trade places with Young. Mail from an unknown sender bothers Prime Minister Ko. Yeah, that took a long time for her to be like, she finally realized what was going on. So episode 9, this is where like a lot of the mystery detective stuff happened. Like they realized about the phones more. They realized more about like the different people involved. I wrote a note and I can't read it. But we have a little bit of a closer look at the boy too, who is at the bookstore. We see him through the kind of video surveillance that we realize is from the future in this episode, and that spins off a more like, okay, when are things happening and how are they happening and what is happening questions.
Yeah, I swear to God, I thought that the 2 years had passed and they were just I'm just dumb. But I then it's like it's in the future. The boy is, and now that we have, we'll get to that later episodes, but obviously everybody started theorizing already that he had some sort of like spiritual significance, because Goblin and all these other dramas that have come from this writer have had these deity characters that are interfering with the state of humanity. And so that was a interesting one, because it kind of just like, what the hell's going on right now?
Yeah, I feel like I noticed it before Lee Gong did. I was like, hey. And then I too, same as you, Nat, I was like, have we been here for 2 years and this is how they're going to reveal it? Like, he hasn't been back to see Taeul in 2 years. But no.
It would make more sense that she'd be so upset and crying all the time if it was 2 years versus I don't know how many days passed between them seeing each other. It doesn't make it clear.
But she was like beside herself.
Yeah.
It has been, I think they said that it had been a couple of months in time since things had started to happen. But again, we don't really know. But the date itself is May 27th, 2022. So that's pretty cool. It's not even like that date 2020 yet. So we're going to have to come back here at some point in the future and be like, it's that date. Just like they do all the time with Back to the Future and stuff like that. And then people are like, no, it wasn't that date. Yeah. This is where I was like, is it the bookstore between? I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah. Did you have any other thoughts on this episode? Again, it was like telling us they had to go back to tell us where they got to get here. So they did that loop with the episode like they do. And that is a very specific, confusing editing choice for us.
Yeah, I was heavily disappointed because I believe this is the one that opens up with we're gonna go visit the fields and hold hands that everybody was really excited about, but it was just like a nice location that they had to go have a scene at so that you feel more like it's more romantic when they're together. And it's like, yeah, you could have, I don't know, it just
like
they were trying to find his mother.
His mom.
But didn't he also say he didn't really care because he knows that's not his mom?
Exactly. Yeah, and like they had this philosophical conversation in the field where it's like the face is just a symbol of that person. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was strange. Yeah, because episode 8 ends with the big reveal that Shinjae, right, is from the other world. Yeah. And then we just kind of dropped that for a long time.
Until the next episode almost entirely.
Yeah.
We open up in the field, and I remember thinking, is this the right episode?
Yeah, same. I had to go check.
Yeah, I checked
too.
I and then I was like, did Lee Gon want to find his mother? I was like, did I also miss this plot point? But then what's weird is when they bring it up a couple episodes later, that's his mom that Lee Lim has been holding, but it's not his mom, right?
Yeah.
The woman that Lee Lim has been holding is just the woman with Lee Gon's mom's face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lee Gon has already said that he doesn't really care. Like, he knows that's not his mom, but Lee Lim is kind of banking on Lee Gon caring.
And like
right? Am I tracking?
But Lee Gon doesn't even really remember his mom, so it's like it's just just a mom.
Yeah.
It's like
it's such a weird. Yeah, I still don't understand what the purpose of having her. I understand him keeping her as bait because he knows, he never had a relationship with his mother. She died when he was 3, so he would want to see her in the flesh and see what she looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole part about her suicide attempts and
there was a lot of that.
Like
she's trying to get away from him and she's tried to kill herself. Because she mentioned that in previous episodes, like she's tried to die and he won't let her. And
they show it in a later episode. And it's very violent. And I think a lot of it too is just like, why is she here and what is her purpose? Besides just to kind of like have a link to Shinjae and to have this kind of mystery around her doppelganger that is in the Imperial Palace until no gets around.
I mean, like his plan with Tail is much more solid.
I track with that one way more.
Yeah, like that was just like way more solid. Like hold her hostage. Lee Gong will do whatever I want. It's a solid plan. This one was a lot longer in the making, and maybe it was the same sort of plan for Lee Lim, who he just he wanted to have people that would have been of emotional significance, and all he could get was at that time the woman with his mom's face. Mm-hmm. And since the Tail plan fell through, he's like, well, better keep her around. I don't know.
Is he gonna have her pretend to actually be his mom, as if his mom never actually died?
I don't know.
We should, when we get to the theory crafting section, I really want to discuss this, and also my theory about Taeul's dad. I've seen some rumors around this, and I think it's fascinating because there's a couple of really weird inconsistencies about his character, and he's not very shown. And I won't get into it now, but it's
I'm super excited. I haven't heard any of this.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Okay. On to episode 10?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, on Lunar New Year, Gong and Lee come face to face in the public standoff. Taewol opens up to Sinjae about the other world and her ongoing case. So this is where we get a lot of the reveal. It opens up with Shinjae in therapy, and he's like, well, what if another world existed? She's like, you're crazy, and he's like, I'm not. And we also get a super duper Maximus return. Welcome back, my dear lady horse.
I love Maximus.
Yes,
so
anytime Maximus is on the screen.
It's a good time.
This is also where we get the whole, Lee Lim is just willing to just straight up kill citizens. So he's already, and they call him a terrorist after this incident happens.
Yes.
So like, I just feel like this is part of the like Lee Gong just snaps. Like,
yeah,
I think it makes sense.
Yeah. The whole standoff on Lunar New Year, this is another one of those scenes where I was like, what are we doing here? This scene was like 10 minutes long.
It was just an excuse to have him on a horse in a crowd. I swear to God.
It was, and I'm not angry at that ever. But the way that, like, it was 10 minutes over the course of the 2 episodes, because it ends and then it begins. And the fact that no one recognized Lee Lim, even though, like,
some people have been recognizing him.
Yeah, and they say that, like, the prime minister's mom recognized him, and, Lee Gong, like, yells, like, that's the terrorist, but doesn't actually send people after him, and, like, that's the traitor who killed my father, and then later he's like, no, never mind, he's not alive.
We can't talk about this, otherwise there's too many questions to answer, and...
Yeah, it really confused me how no one recognized him in this, like, very public space, and this scene was just so long. I gotta be honest, I did not enjoy it. I didn't think it made sense.
I didn't understand what Lee Lim was trying to do. So I didn't understand the villain's motivations. Like, what's the point of coming out in the open when, like, were you trying, like, okay, so maybe he was trying.
This is my first,
you're gonna open up the soju. Maybe he was trying to actually have Lee Gong admit that he was alive and that there was a government, conspiracy to cover it up or something, so that then he would gain supporters. I don't know. Well, that's kind of maybe that's what he was trying to do. I was just trying to figure out, like, why he was trying to come out in the open, because he made a very public display, and then Lee Gong was forced to cover it up.
It was strange, though, because there was a whole, I can't remember which episode, it had to have been one of these 2, where Lee Gong is like, why can't I find him? And then he realizes that he hasn't been aging, and then he starts going back through all the security footage from his public events and sees Lee Lim has been there the whole time. So I think maybe it was kind of the same thing, and this is just the first time that he's seen Lee Lim, because now he knows what he's looking for, and Lee Lim also see him. But the fact that it ended with this huge standoff with, like, the 2 crowds on either side, and they're all looking at Lee Lim, and no one's like,
hey, that guy.
Like, huh.
There's little, like, pictures in the newspaper after.
Yeah, and, like, they should know that, like, any conspiracy theory is always fueled by a cover-up, and that is, like, it made it worse. I don't know how that was a strategy, unless it's just writing, because I felt like that whole the scene was so staged to have such a, empty fulfillment, like, it just kind of dropped, like, okay.
There was more fulfillment with the second on the streets thing that we had in this 4-episode arc. Also, we had the conversation between the 2 of them. I think it was this episode where there was the call, right? Maybe it was the last episode where, like, they were talking to each other. Man, it was the last episode where he had the 2G cellular phone, which I was like, do those even work anymore? Like, if you have a 2G phone, does it still work?
Why is 2G the thing anyway?
It's, like, very specific.
It's like to say it's an old phone, like, because we're on, like, 4G, 5G networks nowadays, so it's like it probably only works in the city or whatever, and it's a very specific type of phone, just to say these old ass phones are, like,
hand wave it out,
yeah, like, they're Yeah, they're like the old technology, or maybe he bought shares in them when he first came over. When
He
the
just bought like a truckload of them.
yeah, and that's like he's just trying to use them up before he's like, I shouldn't have bought 3,000 of them. It was just too much. No, I'm still working. It's like lifetime supply of 2G phones.
You went to Costco.
To be fair, they don't have planned obsolescence in the Kingdom of Korea, so. Just kidding.
But these are the phones that have the voicemail messages of the news, so that when people go over there, they recognize things and they're more set up. It's how they're learning how to adapt to the new world once they go over there. But like they have that conversation, and then like he breaks the phone. Like I needed to bring up that scene. And then at the very then at the very end of this episode, we actually have the death of his mentor, the next in line for the throne, the prince.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that scene.
That was intense. That was sad. Yeah, honestly, that kind of hit me in the emotional gut. And then watching the next scene too after that, when they're coming off the plane at the funeral, and is she technically his grandmother, Lady No?
No, she's no, she just works in the palace. She's like the head.
Yeah, she's the head court lady who was basically assigned to raise him as like a motherly figure, and so they're not actually related, but she's basically kind of like that head handmaiden in a way.
That's what I thought. I was like, but is there actually a familial relationship there? And her fainting and him just like kind of so passive. It's like what we've been talking about like that switch from, like this is real now, and now like I'm going to do whatever it takes. And to see him kind of not react in that situation was really alarming too.
Yeah, he's definitely compartmentalizing and like trying to put on this appearance that's not who we know as a character, because we've really seen him in his, relaxed and natural state.
Mm-hmm.
He's eccentric and quirky and a 14-year-old horse girl, like he's cute. But right now we're seeing that other side of him where he is actually a king. And I think that's pretty cool, because it's nice to have that kind of contrast, and it shows that he is super serious. Like he is a formidable threat against his uncle. And,
yeah. And it's not just him being able to call like the troops to him.
Exactly.
It's like him actually making these really like hard and dramatic decisions himself, and doing it himself too.
That's such a good point. Like he does seem competent. He seemed competent in the Navy episode too, but this actually shows him to be like responsible, and that I was talking on the Discord actually about how it just feels like the king is a necessary part of this government. Like without it, the government might fall apart, because he does so much from a governance perspective for this society, even though it's really weird.
It's absolutely like fantasy. And
yeah,
I have to put myself in those shoes, because as somebody who's like very anti-authoritarian and anti-monarchy, I feel. Plus, also he was like really. Remember how he had like the surveillance state part where he found her by all the cameras and stuff? Like,
yeah, you're like,
if you start to touch upon the real world implications of this, you probably will like end up not happy. But if I'm thinking of it as a fantasy, he is a good leader, and he is he even says, we're not cutting education and welfare benefits to the
those are the rights of the people.
Yeah. So there's a sense of duty, and you have that kind of cool dichotomy where you've got his personal selfish interests, which is Taeul and having a happy life, versus what his obligation is to. You could tell that he takes the obligation to his kingdom very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was in one of these two episodes too, where Taeul and Jo Young have that conversation, right? Where he's like, "Are you going to be able to be the Queen of Korea? Like that's the end game here for you, because
are you going to be able to give up everything that you have here?"
Yeah, because he definitely can't give up Korea, like the kingdom of Korea. So that's what's on the line here. So you got to make that call. And I was like, wow. yes. I really love that conversation between the two of them.
Yeah, this show is very it reminds you of what's at stake in conversations and in things that happen, like the time dilations slowing down, like the fact that you have that conversation, like it brings it back around to say maybe the whole thing is doomed, and that makes it feel very like escalated up. Yeah, emotionally, relationship wise, it's doomed, and also the universe is doomed, just to add to that, you know.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this episode, we have the people compared it a lot to that goblin scene where the goblin disappears in that one moment.
There was a viral tweet that said, why do we keep doing this to her? And somebody responded back, stop dating those types of people.
Stop dating the guys. This is our Flower King, and they bring up this scene in remembrance in every episode after this. So it's a very important scene, just in case you didn't know, because this show is also nonlinear, also has flashbacks, and has time travel. So we have to kind of think about all of those things at the same time. And so we think this scene is not our current day king.
Yeah. It's the end. It's that, you know, it's that final,
the glorious moment.
Yeah.
You think that we will see that he has gone back maybe just before the end confrontation. I think that would make sense, to go and tell her how much he loves her and bring her flowers, because he never brought her flowers.
Somebody's gonna die, you know, somebody is gonna, and then the timeline will have to be fixed or something. But we know that in these dramas there will be a death and resurrection. There is no chance for missing out.
I'm interested to see why he picked this moment to come back to, because this is the one we were talking about earlier, where she like runs to him as if he's been gone for like months and months and months, or like even possibly years, and we're like, there are no clues as to how much time has passed to warrant the reaction that she has in that moment. But then the fact too that it's not until I think like three-fourths of the next episode where she says, it was in that moment that I knew that he was from a different time. And I was like, whoa.
She's like reminiscing that moment, and she's looking at the keychain that he gave her. Yeah.
And it was that moment I was like, all right, you've got me, I'm reeled back in. Just like, let's keep going with it.
It's true, yeah, because it's like, then you sort of kind of think, okay, well, every time that he's showed up outside of her door, you know, like there's a possibility that it wasn't necessarily linear, you know, but
I do plan on rewatching this whole show once it's all out, just to like be like, okay, what did I miss? What were the breadcrumbs that were actually there that I just thought, again, due to the editing or due to the choices that were made, were just part of the show, and I was just confused, because maybe it was purposefully trying to make you confused in that moment, and I don't know. I'll have to judge it after it's all done in that way. Shout out to Cat Luna and our Cat Luna, Caitlin, because she made an appearance, and we hear that Luna stole her name from the cat, which means we don't know what Luna's actual identity is, which adds kind of a layer symbolically to her, like she doesn't have even enough of an existence to have a real name, which is sad.
It's really cool, actually, because she sort of reminds me a lot of like spy agent characters that I'm obsessed with, like women especially. Like they don't usually get those roles, but when they do, that they're usually just kind of like, they've had to, like, their entire identity is just stripped away, and they live for a mission, whatever that is. And you know, she's able to adopt herself into Tyl's life very quickly because of the fact that she has that ability. You know, she's a mastermind. And how did she get that kind of training besides that criminal background, or and why?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like has she been working for Leland this whole time because of who she is? And
She didn't know it, you know.
I don't know. So after episode 9, I tweeted out there are 2 gates, and I was so excited, and then like Li Gong actually confirms it this episode, and I was like, I was smart for a moment.
But Marie Claire, you have a theory of where the gates are, and we haven't seen yet where it is. That's still in the mystery.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like if they're actually, let me just go back to this, but you know, the gates, actually on screen, you can see the 2 gates that are from the intro, and like I think yes, there is actually one in the middle of the city, and that's why we have that confrontation in the square, because he just literally because that's part of it. The time freezes, and then he shows up in the middle of the city. So I think that he just got to town. So like that's
just walk through.
Just walk through. Yeah.
There was a while that I thought that like where Leland was coming through was the painter's studio that he has with like all the water, the irrigation fields or whatever outside. There was a while that I thought that was where he was coming in and out, but I kind of agree with you now, MC, that I think it's the ones because they're shown in the intro along with the bamboo gates too. So I feel like that kind of makes sense, but maybe there are more than.
But there's also like the cityscape looks like it's like old Korea in one version. So that's where I'm like, how much of this is real? I don't know. And maybe one of the gates actually is a time travel gate rather than a place to place exact time gate.
Yeah.
That was my other.
That's getting out there. I like it.
There has to be something like that, though, because like the scene where Li Gon leaves Taeul and like it's from that glorious moment. And because up until this point, we know that time stops when someone else is going through the gate. And so if we're only playing within the logic of what we know in that episode, it's like someone else, like Lin would have had to have gone through the gate for Li Gon to leave Taeul when they're making out. And for long enough for him to like get far enough away that when time stops, she doesn't see him at the end of the street, like walking away. That's kind of what I thought. So he must have learned this capability.
Mm-hmm. There's another mechanism that we're missing and we haven't seen it. And that's where I'm thinking like, and there's this thing that Li Lim does every time he travels through the gate is he resets his watch. And so whereas we don't see that Li Gong necessarily does anything of that indication, that's where I'm thinking like maybe the gate is that mechanism, the other gate that we don't know, the top gate in the thing that I'm showing on the screen right now. And where I think that maybe that's indicated, at least in the design, is that like one of the gates is this old temple and the other gate is this like very high tech building type gate. So it's like to show like there's a difference between the two, whereas the other gate is just like this broken gate that's a mirror of each other, right? So maybe there's this other way that things are happening, and then the mechanism has been there the whole time. It's just we weren't aware of what it was.
Yeah. I think too, to bring into it is the fact that like while he's getting introduced to this time dilation idea, it's exclusively for him. I mean, he says that the worlds will stop or whatever, but like,
and it seems to only happen with it happens to Li Lim too.
It does, but it's interesting though, because like Li Lim has been passing through so many more times. If it's within 64, that it's going to be like a day, like there's no way that there must be some difference here between like either it's because the other half passed through finally. Something is not right, and you're right that what would resolve that quite a bit, like you said, is the time travel element.
Well, I think the question I'm asking now is, has Li Lin been time traveling himself this whole time? And we just don't know, because we know obviously that he hasn't aged at all. So is this a piece of it? And it's like, that's
interesting, because there's so many times he shows up and he's got blood on him, and he's like, he looks exactly the same like he did in the beginning when he's sitting at the interrogation table. So
I also have a theory about the umbrellas. Uh,
The umbrella.
no, because there's umbrellas. There's
Yes.
more than one, and I'm like wondering if maybe he has like he's gone to the same place multiple times, and so there's like a collection of the flute umbrellas that he goes and picks up from Prime Minister Ko's mother's shop. Anyways, that's just like a weird concept. Yes. There's a lot going on in this show. It feels like this endless puzzle, but I'm really hoping that we've had enough cookies and enough like Easter eggs and we've been good enough to like be like, it all clicks into place at the end. It would just make me really,
you literally
really happy.
only have 4 episodes.
I know.
If you ask more questions in the last fourth of the show, I will personally come to your house. No, I was kidding. But yeah, I think it's important that to resolve it and wrap it up. And I do think that we've gone really far, but I really want to see a tidy ending.
Who knows? At least consistently in this show, whenever they've given us this thing, and the biggest thing for me is her tying her hair up in a ponytail, they have consistently used it in the future to indicate something. So there isn't any Chekhov's guns. All of the Chekhov's guns are being used, right? So I have a lot of faith because they already have this way by which they are actually pulling in the plot and character moments where it seems to tie back to things we already know. It's just this very, very complicated 4D tapestry that we're just not, that's mirrored, that we don't know the whole pattern yet.
Exactly. I'm glad that you have hope and faith in it. Like I think I was just, I don't want to be cynical, because I just think we've, been burnt before, especially by Western television.
Yeah.
I mean, you should see how many podcasts I listen to on Westworld, and I just want a satisfying ending. That's all.
I think that the next 4 episodes, because I think that the pacing of episodes 11 and 12, like they've been, I think like 12, I think has been my favorite out of the series so far.
I wrote so much for both of these episodes because I was like, there's so much going on and it makes sense and it seemed to click. Yeah,
it was kind of firing on all cylinders as far as like what they were revealing, how we were finding out where, like, what world we were in, like the lead couple, like it felt like what I was wishing episodes basically 4 through 10 were, or really 6 through 10. So I think that the rest of the series is going to have that good kind of pacing that's like really quick and like things are happening very quickly throughout. So I'm hoping anyway, because like there is still a lot of time left. We've got nearly 5 hours of this show left. So I think I have faith still. Yeah. But I'm kind of with you though, Nat. Like I feel like the middle was really shaky for me, but it got me back in the end.
It was less shaky for me, but maybe I'm just like, it'll happen. I do want to pour one out for Unsub taking the hit and ending up in the hospital and that moment. It felt like, and this is another one of those, maybe these two people are the same situations because they seem to be acting more like, a hybrid version. Both of them are acting like a hybrid version of themselves,
Yeah.
Which I kind of think is a little bit wonderful in a balanced perspective. Was it this episode or was it the last one where the boy from the bookstore said he has to return? Oh no, it's the next one. He has to return the balance or save the balance, and that gave me shivers, goosebumps.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to figure out with the lightning on people. I was like, what is the pattern here? Because is it just people that came from the Kingdom of Korea into the Republic of Korea? But that's not true because that's never happened to Shinjae before. Is it how many times you've gone back and forth? But Taeul's gone back and forth a number of times now, and that hasn't happened to her yet. And like Lee Lim, it doesn't even hurt him anymore, but like, does he have any feelings? I don't
Is he dead inside?
No, I mean,
Has he lived so many lifetimes? We have no concept of what is life.
I almost thought it was the balance thing because of what the kid said. If your counterpart isn't alive or something and you're going back and forth, like you've disrupted the balance of the two worlds, and so like that's your punishment. So
that is the theory that currently exists, is that the only people that experience them are those that have their doppelgangers are dead or they killed them, and they're I was looking at each injury on a specific, because it's in a specific spot for each person, right? How is it related to their manner of death? And like it's interesting.
But is Shinji's doppelganger is dead though?
We don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But when we get to episode 12, we'll have a long conversation about the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
All right. Episode 11. One of my favorite scenes in television happens in this episode, and we will get to that, but it's the bookstore kid with Luna. And that conversation, I wrote down every single sentence because I was like, you can tell. So like, I don't know. I don't have a comparison other than The Mandalorian. But whenever Quill speaks, he speaks in this way of like, like, I have spoken, and this kid has this way of speaking that feels like he's older than time. But we will get to that. I love how well constructed this episode is because it starts with Luna, being chased by the cops. She gets captured after they get her off their tail. She captures by Lee Lim, and she ends up in the salt pile, like out in the boonies. And the end of this episode, we have Taewol in the same exact place, tied up and no longer like kind of given an offer or anything like that. She has no choice. So it was a very well constructed episode. I have lots and lots of notes. So Caitlin, what did you think?
I really liked, I thought the capture and switch of Taewol and Luna, I thought was just so well done. I think like I said, it was one of my favorite parts of the series so far. Is just the way the thing about Taewol is that like she's been kind of weepy the past couple episodes, and so getting to see her almost like combine those two emotions but still like fighting and like throughout her capture and like until she like meets up with Lee Gon, I just thought was so well done, and it really drew me in, and like I was really excited to actually have Luna doing something active with like our lead characters now finally, because like she's been in the background for so many episodes now, and so to finally see her make that call, to see her even watching Taewol and her father like within the grocery store, it was really thrilling. And even just thinking about what she's going to be getting up to in the next couple episodes, how she's going to be contacting Taewol, it's just, I think it's really fascinating, and we haven't seen doppelgangers have this kind of standoff yet, really. So I think it's because I don't think Taewol's going to want to kill Luna necessarily. So again, like, what is that trade-off gonna look like? Because if they send her back to Korea, the kingdom, she's gonna be tried there because that's what Lee Gon is doing to everyone else. But she can't stay in the Republic of like. It brings up so many questions, and I'm excited to see them talk. And I say that doppelgangers haven't talked, of course, like Jo Young and Yoon Sup have, like, but
they weren't adversarial.
Yeah, they're on the same side. I just want to make sure I know that they're doppelgangers.
I know.
Everyone's like, I think you're forgetting two of the main characters.
I also thought it was really interesting that we get more of the Prime Minister's motivations through the funeral in this episode, where she like looks over at him and she like smiles / laughs at his pain.
So bad.
And you thought she might be cool, Nat. I love her so much because she is such an unrepentant bitch. And I mean, it's good.
She totally murdered herself.
Are you gonna buy the light mask though by the end of the snack? Because we saw it
No.
a couple more times.
I
I do
cannot.
want to know how much it is, just so I can be like, oh.
I bet it's super expensive. I'll look it up sometime. But yeah, I don't know. Like she's more terrifying to me than Lee Lim, because at least Lee Lim kind of is on the surface. Like she is Machiavellian, but she just, she keeps that aura of being. Yeah. I knew it was her when they ran into each other in the coffee shop, because I was like, that is
me too.
Absolutely her.
Yeah. And
that was such a good moment.
We also had this episode, or was it the one before, where Taeol meets her doppelganger and asks for her ID, basically. But I think that might be set up if Prime Minister Ko has murdered herself. Sorry to be confusing, but she has murdered her other version of herself. Then, Taeol will know that right away, right? Like she'll know,
I think that who she met on the street was Prime Minister Ko. Because then she goes into the shoe store and like buys the fancy heels that the prime minister would wear. So, because I wasn't sure at first, but then when she went to the store and like she said throw away the shoes, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Prime Minister Ko now.
Damn it! That's got me.
So she's done something. Good. She's done something with her doppelganger.
So she was herself, and she's a very good actress, and like not only as an actress but also in the show she is just exceptional. She's a stone cold killer, and like I love that.
And Lee Gong is right to not want to marry her.
Yeah.
And Lady No is calling her a bitch is
right on point. No one is wrong about Prime Minister Ko. And it does feel good when she gets a little bit comeuppance when she comes back in the next episode. It feels good to like see her be like, ah ha ha.
Well, it made me really wonder what Lee Lim has told the prime minister, because when her friend comes there and sits down and she's like, that chair is not for you, it's for the baby. And she's like, yeah, we don't know what it is. And she's like, it's a girl. Like, she's not very confident. I was like, have you been time traveling?
Have you been to the future?
Yeah, I was like, I'm so suspicious of what everyone says now.
Yeah, and like you can tell that she's using the fact that she knows that this woman is going to die. Like she's obviously been schooled in the fact that she's getting replaced, right?
Yeah. I don't know what to think anymore.
She's a real peach.
Yes. This was the episode that we had the realization that time was slowing down and that there's going to be your horror story inevitability, and that we have a clock running against us, which, we've had this motif of clocks throughout the show, and it's just really interesting that like there's actually like it feels now more like a ticking time bomb than necessarily just a time relation thing, and that it's coming to a head. The Luna stuff was absolutely horrifying. I was just reminding myself of that. Let's talk about Luna and bookstore Yo-Yo Boy. So she comes to him and she's going there specifically to give him her car, and he tries to return her switchblade, which was in the pocket of the bunny hoodie that she had given him. And Luna says, use it to protect what belongs to you. This whole scene just it's and I don't know again if it's the translation or if it's like how the wording happens, but it's set in just such a particular way. She gives him the car where she sleeps at night, and then asks him about, believing in God. And then she realizes, what she's about to do, she's going to be punished for. And then asks about, that yo-yo, why the red string? All right.
Marie Claire's meta brain is working right now.
So this kid is fate of some sorts, we guess. I mean, that's what everybody's kind of saying. That makes sense, especially with the red string of fate type concept, and ties back to our idea that when he says, I hooked it up myself. So he specifically tied the strings of fate between what is happening now to fix what is happening now because it's gone off the rails. That is what I get the sense of. But she said, who taught you that expression? I hooked it up myself. And I don't know if that's a translation thing or not, but if somebody knows what that Korean like expression is, I would love to know what it means, because it seems like it's probably something that is very, very specific.
Yeah, one of my greatest disappointments is that a lot of what I think is probably brilliant writing is flying over my head because of the fact that I think we all know Netflix translations are not to be trusted. So
yeah. I watched Triad Princess recently, and everybody swears like every sentence. I'm like, is this actually the translation? I don't know. Maybe.
But yeah, I like the idea that the child is a deity. You know, we had two major deities in Goblin. We had the goddess of childbirth and fertility, who showed up all the time, and then her counterpart, which was basically God.
Yeah.
And so I think having, you know, that kind of spiritual figure obviously exists in both worlds, interferes, is omnipresent, is trying to fix the balance in some way. Hopefully not just a deus machina, that there's actually something explained there. Who knows? I'm not really like super invested in worrying about it. I like that we're getting some more of that sort of unquestioned like modern mythology is what I call it, you know, when you bring the old gods to the new. So
yeah. Well, we haven't seen the boy in the Republic of Korea, correct? Or have we?
I don't know. That's why I was like, is the bookstore in one world and the other?
Because if he can go in between worlds.
Well, and there is only one of him. He does say that to Taewol when, you know, like, because she's met him, and I think that she met him when she was in the. She's met him
in the Kingdom of Korea. I think when she was walking around.
Yeah, she shows up in the slums and sees the bookstore.
Was, like, scheduled, I think.
Yeah. I'm confused.
I looked at chat just to see if anybody had already caught up, and they're talking about chicken, so, you know.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. Luna goes and gets chicken. Like,
I know. I'm so glad. Yeah.
We're proud of her.
Somebody made an amazing point about the chicken online, and it was that the Kingdom of Korea does not have as much fried chicken because of the fact that they didn't have a war with an American base where they needed to, that was introduced as major cuisine. So I thought that was just brilliant. You know, they just haven't had
that is
fried
interesting.
chicken.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's really interesting.
And again, there's more of those parallels with Crash Landing Into You, just like the differences, and they have thought through kind of these differences pretty well, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we have at the end, well, at some point the PM disappears. She's sick, guys, everybody, she's sick. But in the next episode, she's also disoriented. So I think this plays into this idea that maybe she was gone for like a really long period of time. She went through, we're going to nickname it the time travel gate at this point. I just feel like that's where it's going. But
I like
it.
Like, is it a separate gate, or is it just like if you step off the road of lightning and thunder in a different direction, you can access it? I don't know. But then Lee Gon has also said that he's explored a lot of that area.
Yeah, and he hasn't been able to
seen him in there really at all.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. I bet it is a separate gate, but it would be interesting if like both of their gates have time travel capabilities.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a symbolic meaning behind how many balloons are in the in-between. Because at the first time, there was only one balloon. And then when they went again later on, there was way more balloons. And so much that, like, Unsub took a balloon with him, and he was a little cute little boy with a balloon. But I think that there might be some significance to like what is represented in that in between road of lightning and thunder.
Yeah.
And then we have Teol captured in the salt pile, and the boy approaching her to rescue her with his switch knife that Luna made sure to keep and protect what belongs to him.
There's so much connection between each of the different doppelgangers, and it starts to get
confusing.
It's like, it's so quick that these things are happening, I haven't seen a lot of the theorizing on this yet, but there's a lot of like parallels between what happens to everybody. I mean, both Unsup and Jo Young get shot in the shoulder.
In the same shoulder too.
Yeah.
But one is just he's wearing this vest better, and so like he doesn't bleed.
Yeah. So there's like whatever happens to one will happen to the other at some point. And it's just like, ooh, then we get into some spooky action at a distance stuff, and it's pretty cool.
Well, I think it was Nari who told Jo Young, she was like, I saw you in hospital gown and me in like going to go see you. And then we switch, and that's where we see Yoon Sup and the other Nari, I can't remember her.
Oh yeah.
Her.
You have to remember two names for every character. It's okay.
We'll call her other Nari.
Yeah. And so, but then he gets shot too. It's just it was very cyclical. So,
and we have the actual at the end of this episode as well. We had the actual beheading threat. Like, no, actually, you're getting beheaded.
It's a promise.
Yeah, I mean, it's scheduled. It's like it's on the schedule. Li Gong loses his shit, destroys the bookstore. The guy dies. He realizes that
that scene starts with them playing Dies Irae.
Yeah.
I was just sitting here listening to like the most ominous piece of music ever made.
Day of the Dead. This is where our king has gotten to.
This is where I started laughing and did not stop for the next episode and a half. So
I almost thought that Lee Gon was gonna have his like bodyguard behead the guy right there and then.
I thought so too. I thought the hood was going on and he was gonna like pull out a sword and whoa. And so it kind of fast forwards to the moment at the end of that episode 11 where we have the rescue, and it's very confusing. You're like, what is happening? And again, it's that it does this thing where it goes forward, it shows you what's going to happen, and then it goes back to explain how that all happened in the next episode. It doesn't help because we're already dealing with the language barrier and all of this confusion, double people. But I'm just trying to go along for the ride.
It's just the way that we're doing it every episode, though, I think is where it just becomes like too much. Like every other episode,
we want to get off the roller coaster.
Yeah, I'm just like, we just keep going again and again and again, which means like we're not picking up on these storylines in any kind of order. So
no, it feels like separate scenes that are attached together.
And so like even like with the lead couple in episodes like 7, 8, 9, 10, they just felt so separated from everything else and like so disconnected. And I think like now that they're connected again to the larger storyline, I think that's part of why these episodes feel better.
Yeah,
they also spend the most time, except for the first time that she went to Korea.
Yeah,
they spend the most time together in this episode.
Yeah,
like episode 12, they have the most time in proximity to each other, so it helps balance out the show a lot, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
and you just sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, just in terms of these, like what you said, this cyclical like explanation of what you just saw in the beginning, it seems to be very indicative of Korean dramas in general. I would say
it's very structure like,
the same scenes over and over again in different dialogues. So like if you're watching a scene one week, you'll have a new episode. They'll show the same scene, but the dialogue will be different. They did this with Prime Minister Koo in Taeyul when she first met her. So it's just like Yeah, just if you're new to the whole format, just know that that's really, really endemic to it. So,
and they also like to do the I'm leaving you off with the cliffhanger, really important moment. And so you have the desire to come back the next episode. And so they've built that into the structure to like have the big moment reveal at the end and then explain how they got there. I mean, we'll have to kind of talk about this in our last episode that we're going to cover, the King, about the success of this, because while we're experiencing it, it's hard to tell whether it's going to be successful in the end. And I think it's just if they're able to click everything into place and make the puzzle work. And if it did, then, you know, we might feel less bad about it in the end. Because, like, people who are able to binge the show will be like, oh, you know, giving it more latitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So we have the super cool rescue with our Monarch murder boyfriend.
I swear to God, I am still laughing about it because it is the most ridiculous scene in television I have ever seen.
Absolutely.
It's so gratuitous on every front.
Yeah.
The cavalry, the SWAT teams,
and everybody has swords.
He pulled out the cool sword. He had the cool sword. It was the special sword. He pulled out the special sword for this occasion.
Did he leave backtracked to the palace and got it before he went?
He probably sent somebody. I mean,
oh my God. It comes with the horse because they had to get the horses there too.
Yeah, like, the horses.
Why do you need a horse for this situation? Because it looks cool. You know, that is all you need. You do not need to question it. And that's what I was like, okay, I am no longer questioning anything. Like I had a little bit of like that leftover where I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm kind of got my critical mind. I'm getting a little tired of like the over the topness. But then it was just like, well, no, we've hit the sky is the limit. We're done.
I think that's what's so crazy is that like with K-dramas, I think we're all used to these things being very gratuitous, like lots of slow motion, like we were talking about with the repetition of scenes and stuff. Like this is all very par of the course for K-dramas. But this show just like takes it to the nth level, and like even like watching this whole thing, like I said in episode 11, I was with you, Nat. I was like, what? Like this is so much. And then by episode 12, I was like, no, I guess like let's just keep going.
Just say
we're
yes.
Just here for the ride.
We're just here. We're just here to ride Maximus and enjoy the show.
It was like I know there's a fog machine somewhere just off screen, and she's telling like that's the future queen of Korea. And
oh my God!
And she's just standing there like sobbing.
I missed you.
You should have known when I tweeted like. When you guys said it was bananas, because I was just like, "What? He's crying on her as he kisses her," and you're like, "That's not even. You don't even know.
You don't even know. Yeah, you don't even know how crazy the show. Like I think I messaged Matt Baldwin, just because his reactions are like my favorite reactions to the show. But I'm like, Lee Gong literally snapped. Like he snapped so hard that he is like. He's just like, nope, straight to dictator.
Yeah, it was intense. I gotta say though, I was still like so impressed with Taewool and like the actress in this whole sequence. Like I said, of her figuring out that she was in the Kingdom of Korea versus not the Republic of Korea. Like I really liked that whole reveal, how she got out of the Salt's prison place, and then like her. Like calling him on the phone, and like that's like a repetition from the earlier episodes when she couldn't get in contact with him, and like crying while she's beating up the truck driver. It just like I thought she did such a great job in that whole sequence. Like that really sold me on her character when like we've been talking about it was kind of like it wasn't as focused on them actually. And so this really did pull me back in, and I thought she did like a fantastic job in the whole sequence.
Yeah. You can see how strong she is as an actress with Luna because Taewool didn't really have a lot of personality to be able to show. She was just kind of like, you know, she didn't get a lot of opportunity to interact and be with other characters besides the king and Shinjai. So it's like good to see her really be able to like have that conflict, because it does reveal who she is, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we also have a little bit of the palace intrigue where Lady No is trying to figure out who is loyal to the crown in the palace. And we have that mini scene where the PM and Nari and Jo Young all have their little moment. And we're all like, we knew it. But Nari has the nicest car for a coffee shop owner.
I was like, excuse me?
You know, if I was really wanting to get Galaxy Brain about it, she's got the fourth wall breaking meta mind, you know, like where she actually just tells you like story tropes and stuff that she like exists. She's got to be like a goddess or something. She's a deity, you know, like.
Yes, but now that we're talking about it, didn't Lee Gon give her like 50 gold bricks or something?
Yes.
Oh, you're right.
Literally, this like just hit me. I'm like, oh, maybe she bought it with a gold brick.
But she had a nice car before, so I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I guess they're just trying to say that if you become a franchise owner for Alley Coffee or milk tea, you're going to be paid in the major bucks.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Another good advertising.
Product placement.
It was definitely because they went to two of those coffee shops. Two different coffee shops.
I like Nari's better because the other one was very corporate hell.
It felt Starbucksy. Not that there's anything wrong with Starbucks, but you know, it didn't have that.
Nari's got a pasture out front, so
and it plays for Maximus, so we have to stand. Like
we have to.
Yeah, we have to. We have the amazing scene with Jo Young talking with Shinji about the rumors with him and the king.
Yes.
After the shot, would you like to just wax poetic about this?
Yeah, like I've been very clear that I'm pretty happy actually that they're really just calling it out. Like, yes, we know that the king and his beautiful bodyguard are being shipped by the entire nation. They have a ship name. They're very popular online because of, you know, and it just speaks to like being really aware of the culture that you exist within, because this is very normal, you know, across different spheres, whether it's K-pop or other, you know, things. Like it's going to happen, and like embracing it and saying it, and, you know, and also just not like being able to normalize that and not treat it as something subversive or weird is actually kind of really refreshing to me, because you don't want to look down on your audience like that, because think of how many people, you know, are invested in stuff because of that as an interest, and, you know, like there's nothing wrong with it. So like being able to have that kind of conversation and be like, yeah, I love, and this is pointed out by I think Matt, like he didn't deny it, you know, he didn't deny anything. He just said, yeah, but I'm loyal to my king and I'm loyal to my job, you know, just as much as you are loyal and you know, to your partner who everybody knows he's in love with. You know? So yeah, there's just the shipping fuel and just going, go ahead, have fun.
Yeah, it's okay, and like it's dealt with in a way to respect the viewers and what they get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I do not like being talked down to when it comes to stuff, especially transformative shipping when it's you know, non-hetero, you know, like, and you just really like, if you know that that's actually probably a bigger component of fandom is an interest in that, you know, transformative side, then yeah, it's good. I'm pleased because there's so many ships and they're all valid and wonderful. And you know, so
I loved it. So we get the, hey, she's the queen, and this sets the country ablaze. We actually even get like the inside of the newsroom, which is all just a bunch of dudes sitting around the table.
And they're jerks. And you can see the institutional sexism still exists
in the Kingdom of Korea, as much as they've tried to make headway.
Not a paradise.
I mean, there's slums, there's still problems. this is a good example of sometimes the grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence. Sometimes it's just grass. It's just a different kind. Yeah, but the newsmen are like, His Majesty made a huge commotion, and it's like, well, he went after to catch the traitor himself. That's pretty cool. And then he declared, announcing the queen. It's like, oh man, that was a very symbolic action. Is this another example, because this show does this so far, of calling out stuff?
Yes, it's lampshading
in text.
Yeah, it's lampshading. It's basically saying, yeah, I know that's kind of silly, but we have to make it. We're gonna talk about it like we're self-awareness. There's a technical term for it in writing, but I do not have the brains for it today.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's a metatextual, self-referential, and it is just that style of writing is kind of fun, but it's also just sort of like, okay, I get you. Yeah, everybody's in on the joke. We're all on the joke.
But it also is almost like, as you said, but a meta commentary for us murder boyfriend lovers out there, because it specifically says, after all of that bloodshed, announcing his queen.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it was a very specific call out to say, look, what you like about this show is valid.
The violence, yes.
Yeah, well, just that,
the violence for romance.
Yeah. Like that life and death and like marriage and death are often symbolically connected. That is a thing that happens in many, many cultures. I could go into a big Joseph Campbell's, whole conversation about all the times he mentions that, but I don't need to, because they did it for me.
Yeah. Well, even I think with Chaewol and Lee Gon's, like the reunion in front of her house when he's from another time, it's very like matrimonial, where he's got the flowers, like he's in this like beautiful uniform. Later in the episode, they go to a church and he talks about his parents getting married there and describing it as the glorious moment. And again, maybe it's like a difference in translation, but glorious can be good and bad. Like, I think you can interpret, like, the connotation of that word can go either way. And given how somber he is when he sees her, like when he comes back in time to her, but he's bringing her flowers, which is very much like a proposal engagement situation, like something has happened. And
but it was associated with the funeral. So when that happened, so to me, it actually was associated with maybe she's dead.
Yeah, because when she asked what it was, and I almost thought he was going to say it's for I wore it to the funeral. But he says it's for the most glorious moments, which he's talking about it, I think, like in triumph. Is the tone I got from him, but I don't think that's what it's going to be when we actually see him wear it whenever he does go back to that time. But like the whole setup was very much like husband and wife, like in how they're standing
And I think it makes sense too from what you're saying, just because of the fact that like if somebody is going to die, we always look at who's going to die. It makes more sense for her to be sacrificed, just from the way that they framed the story to be very much from his perspective and his narrative. I mean, I'm not saying that she doesn't have her own separate story and that it's important, but that the way that it's set up is that he's going to regret not having spent more time with her and not getting to know her better. And
And he's the catalyst for this whole story. Like
exactly. He's the king. I mean, name is in the title.
Exactly. Yeah.
Name of the show on the plate.
He's on the money.
He's on the money. His face is on the coin. All right. And then we have Prime Minister Ku coming back and eating food that she missed. That's the impression that I got. Like when she's at the restaurant, she was like gorging herself on food that she had been missing. Right. So she had been gone for a long time. Again, this is leading. Maybe I'm just gilding the lily with my the other gate is a time travel gate. But I think we can say it now.
It's a good theory. We're here for theories.
Especially the fact that she's talking about that girl's baby, but then doesn't know that the king has announced the queen and it's not her.
God, that felt good.
Yeah.
that was good.
Like, it just felt good on so many levels to like see her like choke her on her own words a little bit, you know. We got some glorious shippy moments of niceness where he was washing rice for like an hour or 2 hours or something because she mentioned offhandedly one time wanting to see him wash rice in his uniform. Who does that?
It was such an odd. Yeah, I know that it was a reference to that scene, but I didn't understand that scene when it happened before. So
Yeah.
there must be some kind of cultural or wording thing that I'm missing, and
Yeah.
I don't want to white girl this. So I'm just gonna say I thought that was really cute when all the women are outside
Yeah, and they were like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Even though I didn't understand it, I was still like, aw.
Yeah.
And he was like, I've been waiting here for an hour for you to wake up. Like,
yeah.
watching.
Oh God. Oh God.
Can we talk about the makeout in the bed?
Oh my God.
The neck kiss. Oh my God.
I was like, he did not.
When he's like, I'm gonna behead you, and then he kisses her neck. Oh my God.
It's why and I just loved how shy he was that he couldn't look at her when she just had her collar open. I just love the whole, 2 buttons is too much, like.
Yeah, it's like you see that much in summertime.
Everyone that I've spoken to said that was the hottest moment that they had seen in an Asian drama. And I've seen like sex in Asian dramas, and the kiss on the neck was crazy hot. I have no idea what it is about that, because it's just something that you don't see very often, I think.
Yeah, it was. I mean, even in like American dramas, you don't really see
more people
American
kiss
dramas.
People right there, like.
Yeah,
neck kisses imply that you're going lower, so it's just it's baked in that it's a lot more sexualized, and so
it was very good. The crazy thing is, it's like we've seen both of these actors in other dramas, and in their other dramas, they have like really good kiss scenes in their respective dramas, and I hadn't really felt that from like their very first kiss. I think the one they had like when they're like the time travel one, that one was good too. I was like, oh, okay, like we're getting back. I was like, I know these two people have good kiss scenes with their other acting partners. Like, what's the deal? And then we get to the time travel kiss, and then this kiss. I was like, okay.
And they're in a bed. They're in a bed,
yeah.
and he's been sleeping next to her. And then they make out, and then there's the window with the rain on it.
It's a fade to black.
And
it
is.
But like, we can't forget that he like touches her lips too afterwards.
And he's on top of her, and there's a lot of. Yeah, I'm not going to speculate about what happened, but it was really good. And,
yeah.
I
was like, well, I know what I'm going to go rewatch when the episode is over.
Oh my God, we're all just blushing. It's awesome.
It was so good. When's the last time you've seen that?
I watched What's Wrong with Secretary Kim recently, and they have behind-the-scenes footage of them kissing where it's like, are they even acting? But that said, I'm more invested in this relationship, so I just really haven't. It changed. Like, it flipped my kind of like. And
it's an OTP, Nat. What are you gonna do with yourself? It's like there's murder, blood, boyfriend guy, and that kind of neck kiss, and like he wants to protect her, like and. Like, I think that was also the scene where she's like, well, what if the gates shut for good? And he's like, well, then I'm going to open the gates to all the universes. And that's kind of hot, too.
I just get the impression that's what he's going to have to do. And, like, it's sort of like every character has explicitly said something related to what I believe will happen. Like, Shinja was like, I needed to have the gun in my hand to prove, like, just in case somebody recognized me. And I just like, oh my God. So we're talking, he's a gunman, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So like I think that just, there's no subtlety here. There is none.
Yeah. I just hope it means we get another neck kiss before this whole thing is over.
Yeah. And to say like I said, I was really taken aback by the whole crying while kissing thing where it was falling on her face.
Oh yeah.
And then then I saw the blood falling on, his mom's face from.
Ooh, that was chilling.
And then I was like, okay, this is just going to be a thing, and I'm just going to get over that. I don't like fluids. Like, going places. I don't know. I don't think I need to explain that one.
No. Okay. So we have two more kind of big moments that happen in this episode. When the prime minister is meeting with the king, we have Lady No who's having tea with Taeul. And we get the reveal of that Lady No is not from the Kingdom of Korea. She's from the Republic, well, pre-Republic. She's from before the Korean War.
My
And
God.
specifically asks Taeul, what happened with
happened?
that war?
That
And
moment,
like, it made me so happy because it means that there is a natural order where this movement, this between time, or between these two universes, like, it seems like it's okay if it happens, or maybe it's like a spiritual journey or something, but something is broken, just like the flute is broken, right? And so to me, that's an indication of that. And now it's being totally abused and off kilter. But I don't know. It just made me really happy that there was a before time where this still happens. It's not like something that didn't ever happen.
yeah, this is like the main theory fuel is like, okay, is there a secret order that protects the flute and she's part of it? It's supposed to appear like every 20 years or something. It's like, I haven't quite gotten it deep into it, but because it just basically it just came out. So, but like, this is the questions that are being asked of it, is like, yeah, it's going deeper into that mythology and lore that we were talking about previously, where this is part of the Kingdom of Korea exists in both worlds, and it's got this magical item that's part of the protection and the sustainment of it, but what's going on here, what broke, how does it get fixed?
Yeah. We don't know.
I feel like they really set that up, like the really deep, I guess, like mythos of it in episode 1. I mean, the whole opening sequence for this whole show is just, it's like stunning.
Yeah.
Like going, like the whole like title sequence when you're like drawn in, and the fact that it's a flashback with the murder, but you have all these like artifacts and like magical things in that space. It really does just, I think, propel the series forward. But I feel like it all kind of slowed down, and now we're finally like catching back up with everything that was introduced in the very first episode, and having her actually coming from the Republic of Korea. If there were hints to this beforehand, I completely missed them all, because I was like, whoa.
Well, there was a lot of people that said Lady No knows too much.
Yeah,
like they and this would justifiably back that up,
I think I had thought, because for a while I've been like, I feel like we're just spending so much time with Lady No, like we're with her all the time, and I was like, I like her, don't get me wrong, but and now I'm like, all right, fine, like now I would like to hear more of your story, Lady No, like let's sit down and have tea.
I love her.
Yeah, I like her a lot too. I thought it was funny though, like on the editing side of things, when she's laying in the bed after she collapses, and she like wakes up and starts crying about Prince Boyoung, and then in the next scene the doctor goes, "Oh, we gave her a tranquilizer," but she was so I was like, what's going on? It was, and that could be a translation thing, I don't know, but it was just kind of funny. But the reveal itself, though, I was very shook. I was very surprised. It was a good cliffhanger for the episode, I thought.
Yeah.
And then we have the massive, crazy cliffhanger of the prime minister and the king both experiencing the lightning scar. And he realizes she has gone to the other world, because he just found out that dude in the basement that's being like held without, basically their very own Guantanamo Bay is... Well, he's a terrorist. I mean,
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't. It's extrajudicial. It's bad.
It's bad, yes, but yes, held without attorney is also experiencing the lightning scar, and he's like, "Oh my God, what does this mean?" And then he sees the prime minister's on her neck, just like
it was really good.
Another moment. Yeah, I just love the way that she's like, I'm found out, and then but she's always been very like, as soon as she's, you know, she's got that coolness of, it's like, yeah, I'm not worried. Go ahead. What are you gonna do to me? You know.
Yeah, like when she's with Jo Young in the Republic of Korea, their standoff in the coffee shop was really great. And then when he goes and finds her afterwards and they're both talking about it, she had the upper hand in that situation entirely. And then to get here at this point, it was so good. This is another one of those moments where I was like, Lee Gon is so incredibly hot, and I'm like here for angry Lee Gon. Because when he looks at her and he's like, no, you can tell that he is like, oh no.
Well, and like they've had this like this odd relationship from the beginning, you know, where like she kind of wanted to be used by him because then like it kind of put her in this other sphere, and now like, well, the cat's out of the bag. He has never had an intention to marry her and give her that power because he doesn't trust her. And now like everything is coming to a head, and that moment was just so good because it's like all of that was there without having to really say anything.
Yeah.
Yay.
So is her doppelganger dead?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Let's get into
Before
theories.
we do that, just want to say, more shipping fuel. I just love the two couples.
Oh,
the two
yeah.
intersecting couples.
Yeah, I just have to say that because I just love Nari and yeah, but especially how like both of the guys are like kind of like, oh yeah, I like this person, he likes this person.
Well, I think that when Soap like tried to be a bro to Jo Young too.
He was
like,
we wingman him. He was like,
I could have set this up. Yeah, and he'll come back and it'll be like primed up for him. And then he was so happy to hear from Taewol that Nari like didn't like Jo Young as much.
The complete code switch that he did, where he was like, oh, I know her language, what she likes. He turned into Jo Young and was like, don't be giving out your phone number to anybody. And she was like, oh, I'm going to take that home and write fan fiction about it.
Literally.
Self-insert. Sorry.
It was really good.
This was an important thing to say, yes.
Yeah. I love Jo Young and Nari though, and I wish that they had more time. Like, I just want to keep seeing them on screen because he doesn't know what to do with her.
Yeah.
And I love it so much.
But he understands that, like, he likes her face and like her counterpart. Like, he knows that about himself now, and I think that being in the other world has made him realize that. I think. Please
give me second ship content, please.
Right? The thing is, I like Jo Young and Nari. Like,
I
like
fair.
Agreed. Specifically.
Agreed.
And I like Yoon Sup and the other Nari too. But they both like talk about their other respective Naris so much, and I'm like, who is ending up with who at the end of this? Like, one of these Naris is gonna be sad because I think that one of them is gonna die. I think.
Oh, I know. I agree too. It's probably gonna happen, and I do not want it to happen.
I know. So I don't want them to be sad. She's just gonna be waiting for him at the coffee shop for forever, and he's never gonna come back.
Oh my God! Don't give me Twitter again, okay? Please. All of my secondary ships and Korean dramas, just
they do like to kill one of them.
Man.
She said crash landing onto you hurt me so bad with that.
I've heard. I've been warned. Because
Are you starting it?
I will. Yeah.
It's I need updates because it's so good. Like
that second ship like wrecked me, and I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. You're gonna get hurt, Nat. I'm sorry.
I love pain. Why else would I be a fan of drama?
This one though, that one is hard. The crash landing onto you ships are hard.
Yeah.
All of them.
Angst is my middle name, so.
Yeah. All right, are we ready for theory time?
Yeah, let's galaxy brain this.
All right. Let me just pop open the oh so special PowerPoint presentation.
Everybody in chat's like, I want a happy ending. I'm like, you're going to get a happy ending, but you're going to suffer first. You will never have that problem in a Korean or Chinese drama.
Thank you to Nat for always creating PowerPoints.
Oh, they're horrible.
Even when you feel like you don't want to. Like, it would be better at a PowerPoint presentation. You're like, I hate you so much, Marie Claire. But
no.
I love your PowerPoints, even when they're only 3 slides. So
they're only 3 slides.
The king, the eternal confusion.
I'm just gonna say it because I think a lot of the things that I've been seeing in drama Twitter, which I feel like I'm pretty embedded in now, are sort of an ambivalence about it because they feel like there's just so much going on, and people are, you know, posting their theories and their threads, and they're really excited to be able to theorize on it. But because of kind of like the lack of coherence and any singular thread, like, of these theories, it becomes a little bit disjointed and disconnected, and people are like, you know. And I would hope that it would change in the last 4 episodes, but we are, you know, 3/4 of the way through, so
who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. I do think the end of the series is really gonna like ramp it up, and it's gonna be kind of what we had hoped the whole series would have been. If episode 12 is any kind of indication of that. But it's like, because I review, like, I do like little reviews of K-dramas that I watch on my Twitter and like rate them. And right now, I would say that this is probably like a B+ for me, like overall. But that could change by the end of it. But still, like you said, Nat, it's like we're 3/4 of the way through, and if nearly half of it has been uber confusing and not the good kind of confusing, where is it kind of settling?
Yeah, I saw a lot of my mutuals drop it, or just say that they dropped it and said, if it turns out to be good, then I will watch it. And I think that kind of mentality is pretty normal in drama watching, because we have been let down so much. And you have a certain expectation that things will suck sometimes. And that's fine, because like, not only is there a lot of constraints, you know, whether it be production or just all these different factors that go into it that kind of minimize what is possible or capable. And sometimes they do like to throw ideas at the wall, and then they don't stick because they had to cut a bunch of stuff out, or they just like we've talked about it before, but they're still working on this. So if a narrative thread is just dropped, that's almost like just a given for a lot of things, right? Like so many K-dramas that we watch, there's secondary couples or side things where it's just like, oh yeah, they got one scene at the end where they like
get
together.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel the same way as that about the theories that are presented here. And so I want to say that, like, now that we are reaching the end, when we're talking about this, we're just going to have fun with it. And if any of these don't turn out to be true, we are not super invested whatsoever. So
yeah,
let's go.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with being wrong about theories in a show that has this much going on.
Exactly.
I personally am enjoying the crazy a little bit. Maybe I have some sort of like chaos in my soul or something that I love the fact that there's so much going on that it could kind of be any answer and it will work out and it'll make sense. And I just want them to tell me the story, and then I'll be like, oh, that was what was going on. I feel like sometimes, you know, because universes, either like Star Wars or Marvel or whatever, they have so much built around them already. This literally is undiscovered country, so we could have any answer and it would work out potentially. Yeah, so I'm okay with it. I love a few of your theories with your red string, crazy guy, like is Luna future tale, no from Korea, which I
didn't get enough time to put those theories down, because there's plenty of ones that are much, much weirder. There's some great people, like I think I posted last time about how there's people actually doing math trying to determine stuff. And I'm like, no. I love that level of dedication, because as somebody that's written like 10,000 words on stupid things that, whether or not they're true, it was just fun to do. Like that's great. I love that. Like, it's inspiring, because it's something where somebody's saying, it's like, even if the text maybe doesn't have that meaning to it, or the writer wasn't intending it, it's still pretty cool that you can make that connection, because things are connected mentally. Like, we are pattern solving creatures as human beings. Like, we love to figure things out, regardless of whether or not they're intentional or not. It's still a fun game, and it's nice to see people invested enough in this drama to be doing that. And I do think that there are enough nods to certain things that it's validated in a lot of ways, because this is a smart writer and she's done a lot of research to do it. So,
all right. So let's go into existing theories with our very cute Unsub with his balloon, which was
oh my god, that he is actually Winnie the Pooh. I believe it.
Yeah.
That's the missing puzzle piece of this whole thing.
Who is the
That's where we end.
Who is the gunman? I mean, we all kind of think it's Shinji, right?
I do. Yeah. I just think that based on height and general body and
skill with a gun, and they've showed us that he's really good with the gun and that he's really physical and that he's got he like his way with the gun is really well, like, yeah, he's got all the prerequisites checked.
Yeah, I kind of think it's Shinji too. I thought for a while that it was Lee Gon himself, like coming back to save himself, which I still think could be a possibility.
There's no horse. Sorry.
Yeah, there's no horse, so that's kind of out. But they've also shown us that he's not great with a gun. Like
his preferred method is a sword.
Yeah, and like with the carnival game when he fails.
Yes.
So maybe it's not him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think Shinji right now is probably the best guess.
Mm-hmm.
Is the king actually eternal?
Is he going to be immortal at the end of this? I think that like a lot of people have come up with that theory, and the time travel part and the whole time stopping too. Again, a horror concept, because if you are the only person in a world that is dead, you are that is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's this idea that like, or even just a time loop theory where he could be perpetually living over these moments of this existence. And terrifying as that is, is he
also
eternal?
Horrifying too.
Also horrifying.
Being immortal is kind of terrifying. Also, having to relive a life.
Exactly. Goblin was about this. A lot of vampire stories are about this. It's like, okay, I'm living forever, but forever kind of sucks because you don't have like the way of appreciating the beauty of death, right?
Yeah. Well, death gives your life meaning, right? Because you know that there's a finite amount of time that you have for it.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if if time will stop and he'll kill Lee Lim, but then time doesn't start up again. And so he is kind of trapped in this in-between between the worlds until he figures out how to restart it. Or maybe he can only go back to moments that have already happened and he can't like restart the clock to like move forward. And
ooh, that's good, Caitlin.
Yeah, and like maybe that's the end, is him figuring it out after he has spent maybe like many years like in frozen time. I don't know.
I'm getting shivers just thinking about that, but I agree with you completely. I think that is like
that was sort of something that kind of happened in Goblin. Like he was stuck in that abyss land. Like I feel like we might get a moment of that.
That's true. Yeah.
That feels very like this writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a form of hell and a form of redemption, really. I think he really needed to go through that period in order to absolve himself of this need to die too. Like he needed to realize that life was worth living because of the love that he'd found. And in this case, I think it's more about what can I sacrifice for the person that I love the most? Like what would I do? I would open every door in the universe. And I just feel like that you'll see that he'll go through this huge passage of time from his perspective as compared to everybody else's.
Yeah. And like managing the duty over love as well is obviously a big theme for him as the king.
Yeah.
And that's a very, I feel like I've seen that done somewhere where somebody lived like forever just to end up like being able to live with that person again or be with that person again. I feel like I've seen that before.
It's common in
and I mean it happened in Goblin when he had to wait for her to be reborn too. So I feel like that has a lot of weight, like that eternal king concept. Time travel, what? I'm putting it down there, second gate.
Yeah, I love your theory. I'm excited to see that actually. And yeah, like we just really don't know what Lee Lim is operating on in terms of his knowledge of the thing. And he seems to have it much much more down even than this really high level physics nerd who's, figured out the exact amount of seconds and the prime number
But
calculation.
with endless time, you could actually be quite good at this, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Doppelgangers everywhere.
I think this is proven because they are everywhere. Anybody could be a doppelganger. It's like the end of Battlestar Galactica where everybody was a Cylon. Like there is going to be many more doppelgangers or switchovers that we don't know about, and it's going to be interesting to see. And that's when I'm going to talk about Tyul's dad.
Okay.
Yes, I'm so excited for this theory.
Okay.
All right. New or updated theories? Do you want to talk about Tyul's dad in this before we get into that?
Oh, yeah, I didn't put it down because it kind of it struck me while on stream that I had forgotten to mention it. I've seen it floated by a few people on Twitter that he is sort of a weird non-variable that is also a huge variable because of his, for one, he's given the keys to the Taekwondo Center to Li Gan and seems to be kind of like already accepted him into the mix in some way. And there could be multiple reasons for this. One of my theories is that he might actually be from the other side. He might be Luna's dad because, and this is insider information and spoilers, but not really spoilers. It's more like when they were doing production, there was a bunch of articles that came out that I read. And one of them talked about the fact that Luna's father was involved in the rebellion. And that's why she doesn't have parents and why she had a horrible, horrible childhood. So, yeah, I'm just going to point it out there that, maybe he wanted a simpler life and he got it. And I don't know.
What happened to her mom?
That's such a good theory. Yeah, I haven't really even thought about her dad all too much, but seeing you lay it out like that, I'm like, okay.
It might not be true, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Additionally, Luna has cancer, terminal cancer, just like Tyul's mother had and died from. And so people have been speculating, is this hereditary trait? Is Luna Tyul's actual future? Maybe Luna is
Tyul in the future, yeah.
Somebody's put that out there. I don't really have a lot of stock in that theory just because of the fact that they're so different and that, she had that formative childhood that created who she was. It would be an interesting twist, but I don't think that's necessarily what's going on here. I do think that we might see more around the parents and
Well, if Li Lim has been going back and forth through time, then there's a chance that he already knows who Taewol is, and so then he's switched the Taewol and Luna from the very beginning to then
switch them back.
Luna.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can't even explain it correctly.
Well, with time travel, you can't because there are literally any avenue you can go down.
Yeah. So if he's already known about Taewol from the very beginning, then he's gonna in order to get rid of her, he has to get rid of her in both worlds. And so if he if in one timeline Luna grew up in whatever world with her parents, and then this whole thing happens and Li Lim comes back and he's like, oh, it's Taewol, so then he's gonna get rid of give Luna this horrible childhood so that she's vengeful against it and give Taewol the one that wasn't actually ever hers to begin with in the original timeline. I don't know.
I don't know.
No idea.
I hope it wraps up somehow. I do think that Luna's motivations, I put that Luna's prerogative. I still think that's pretty open-ended. And I think that, that would be the most interesting twist from a sort of a writing perspective, is having that other character that is so bound to your female main character be a conflicted and interesting and wholly present kind of person. And I think that's what's happening here. I think she's a late introduction to the game, but she's one of the most important pieces, and her change of heart, her redemption, how she processes that is interesting, because I love flawed female characters. We don't really get that very often. where they're allowed to be complete screw ups or like
Lunademption, is that what you're saying? We're gonna get
yes.
a
I think that's why we're all dressed as Luna today, because we love Luna.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's what we're heading towards too. That because there has to be like, especially from a symbolic perspective in the story, like they say that these two souls on both sides of this gate are connected, so it's like you can't really kill the other half of you. You have to try to understand. You have to try to understand the other half of you. That's what we're seeing with Jo Young and Unsup. Like they're by living in each other's lives, they are slowly learning, you know, more about themselves.
And they're becoming more complete whole people.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And that's the point of the mirror universe, I think. I think. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be about to our weird yo-yo kid at the bookstore's point, restoring the balance.
Yeah.
We already went into weird yo-yo kid a fair amount. Anything else you guys wanted to add about him?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that everybody thinks that this, you know, it's a string of fate. It's a red string of fate, which is very common, of course, in Asian mythology. But it's also, you know, the cutting of the fate, the Norns or the fates in Greek mythology. Like, you have everybody has a specific time when their time is up. And, you know, I think that fate has been interrupted by the fact that all of these doppelgangers are getting murked by their other side, you know, like that's not supposed to happen. That is a crime against nature and a crime against God. So like being able to restore the balance is fixing that problem that has been started by this cross-dimensional murder.
Yes.
Yep, that's it.
I just want to point out the amazing picture with we're faded into universes, baby.
Sorry, I just had to.
It's good and it's true. It's good and it's true.
Yeah, I just love soulmates AUs. What can I say?
Yes. Time dilation thing when people cross over. We don't know what it means yet.
We talked about it, but I think that like we still, I think the biggest discrepancy right now is, like you said, it's the how many times has Mr. Monarch, no, Lee Lim, Mr. I want to be the Monarch crossed over. And
are we sure like, that's his goal?
I don't think
what
so.
Be the Monarch?
Yeah,
he did the whole power is, you know, the by the power of the sword, you know, we create our own justice. That whole like conversation was interesting, but he's such a satanic figure, you know, like
like with these deals with the devil, Faustian. Yeah. I don't know. I'm like, is he maybe just trying to end it all? You know, like, is he more like that kind of villain? Because it doesn't feel like just being the king of one universe is enough for him.
No.
Yeah, no. I think it maybe started off that way, like with his brother, because he's the bastard child, right? Lim is. So I think there's that grudge to it as well. And then uncovering truly the depths of what this power can be, I think that's probably propelled him in a different direction. But I think it probably started off that way, of wanting to be the king, because he was the older brother, but he was the bastard, so he couldn't be. I may be misremembering that, but that jealousy there, and then like getting a hold of this thing and realizing what all it can do. And I'm sure he knows what'll happen when he has both of them.
Yeah, what is the both halves? What happens when both halves are reunited, which will happen in the in the climax? I'm sure that is going to be it, you know. And it's funny because sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that Lee Gon thinks that getting the other half is important just to stop this crossover, but I don't think that like he's not aware of the implications of that magical weapon, basically.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on. Somebody in the chat mentioned that Lee Lim seems more interested in becoming a god than becoming a king.
Yeah.
But maybe that's we don't know, but maybe that's what being the king of the kingdom of Korea is, being the eternal monarch.
Well, I mean, his dad was his father was protecting the thing before he was killed. So I would assume that his father was aware of it, and like Lady No has come over during that time too, which means it was used. And it was used as one piece. So there's something
about it being separated. There's something about potentially the two gates, which again Li Gong suspects in the show, and I think it's going to be a time travel gate.
Oh yeah, we already know there's time travel. I love that they set that as a precedent for the show. Like, time travel has already happened
from the first moments. We know, and then Lady No, that she's actually like some sort of protector of the flute. That's a really cool concept.
Where's her doppelganger?
Yeah, and is she still alive because she wasn't affected by or maybe she just didn't show it, but she wasn't affected by the lightning like everybody else was. I was expecting that in that scene just because of how, I thought that they're going to have a montage of everybody experiencing the lightning. But yeah.
And then the scars, as you brought up the lightning. So what does this mean? So what do we think are the prerequisites to experiencing lightning scars? And I mean, the other doppelganger was killed against the fate's design. We kind of think that. And I interfered with probably from the other universe. And then you've crossed over. So you've experienced the road of lightning and thunder, right?
Yeah, if it was just everybody that crossed over, then a lot more people would have it, but it's not. So
like Teol would have it if that was the case. Unsub would have it, but now we have the prime minister that has experienced it. So now we suspect that she has
killed her doppelganger.
Someone has killed her doppelganger.
Someone has killed her doppelganger. Yeah. Is the Flower King from the future? He's wearing his silky.
It's a given.
Robe. Yeah. I think we're all pretty on that page. And then Prime Minister Ko has a plan. I don't know.
I don't know. The fact that we didn't see her ever talking to Li Lim or like crossing over or like that whole thing, she was just there and then she wasn't. It's so suspicious.
It's going to be it's set up so that you'll have that reveal later, that conversation. I love that she has her ex-husband in prison working like a like a little pay pig for her, just like doing everything possibly wants. So it's just hilarious to me that, like she's got this network of information and she's got this power. But her end goal, like, I don't even know if it really just boils down to being queen of this country now, because if she's kind of discovered this other side and she's been very quiet about it, she hasn't, she's gone her own route to try and manipulate things, and obviously was manipulated into the knowledge through those newspapers and through, things. Like, who is she in cahoots with? Like, is it Li Lim, or is it, maybe this is a bigger conspiracy than we thought,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. A new person we've yet to meet. That would be the worst. The last 4 episodes.
Like I said, I'm just tagging the dad. I just think, we haven't seen enough of him, and he might be coming back. Whether it's actually him or it's his other version that has been working with Li Lim, and we just haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
Scary.
And then you add this at the last minute, the cracked ring. Okay, so I don't remember where the cracked ring was picked up, but it was on Li Lim's hand when he was cutting our young king's throat in the first episode. And we got a flashback to that. So I'm wondering if it was part of the case that had the flute and the sword and the ring. And it looks almost like a graphical representation of what the gate goes through when you go through the gate. So to me, I feel like maybe the ring is like a way to like seal things or stop things. And the fact that he tries to throw it away and the universe doesn't let him because there's a time freeze feels important. I know that's very like,
it's really important though. And
yeah,
like you said, like the 3 magical items is a very common thing in Asian cultures as well. Like you have like the 3 working together, you know, whether it be like
you have your sword arm, you have your, you know, magical flute, and you have your ring of whatever, right? Yeah, like, and he has to have all 3 items to be successful on his quest. It just feels like that's the motif.
Yeah. And again, I could not be remembering this correctly, but didn't the prince have this ring, and then Lee Lim like took it from him and then put it on him when he like after he killed him? So for a while I thought that it was like that's what like the next in line keeps the ring, and like all these things are kind of separated in a way to keep them safe. But yeah, like it is like a magical item, because I don't remember where he got it in the very first episode, because he does wear it there, but I don't like.
I think what happened was that the corpse that he dropped off in our world of his self had the ring on it, if I remember correctly, or if not, like that would make sense, because he would use that as an indicator that this is this person, right? Despite all the physical differences. So Prince Buyong having it after that point would make sense, because he's been holding on to it as the second.
Okay, yeah.
I do not know. I will have to watch for it in my rewatch and see if I can spot when the ring comes into play. But it's important. They froze time to show us the ring, and they've had flashbacks to show it's an important thing. So I feel like it's going to play in the end game of everything. It will. Yeah. Anything else in your minds for, you know, crazy? I like that there's a lot of call outs of different spirituality and religious things, like, you know, talking about God and talking about fate and talking about balance, and, you know, going to the church was really, really interesting. I
can't believe he's a 2nd generation Catholic. That's pretty cool. I had no idea.
There's a lot of Catholicism in Korea.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
And having that nod to like the different spiritualities, you know, being merged is sort of like neat. I like that.
Yeah. I think they had said in that Lee Gon had asked Taewol at one point, like, do you want to go to the temple with me to pray? And then we'll also pray to God. Like it was separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the priest was like, I can keep a secret.
I thought literally like somebody posted this online, but like that he was going to be like, let's get married in secret, you know.
I thought he was going to get married too, but we didn't.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
They still have time. They're at the church. They could go back and say they actually got married at that moment.
I mean,
can you keep a secret? They actually got married, and then it's like, can you keep a secret? It was actually them saying like, don't tell anyone we're already married. If that happens, I'll just. It
would make sense if they slept together afterwards, because in dramas you have to get married before you sleep together.
Then they told us 2 episodes later that they.
Oh, and then she's pregnant too. I mean, that would be just like icing on top.
With the heir.
Oh God.
So what if it's actually their son that comes back to save Lee Gon at the very beginning?
Oh. Yeah. I love it. It's so funny because like, I almost have an expectation that there will be a procreation and something. I know Goblin didn't have one, but that made sense because of the age difference and just the general thing. But, you know, they very often do the whole procreate and die and then resurrection. It's built into the genre. I don't know why. It's great.
Yeah. Well, we're almost there. We're very close to finding out.
All right.
Oh, and somebody mentioned, who mentioned the idea that Shinjae might be Lee Lim's son?
Yeah, some people were putting that on the Discord, as well as I saw some people on Twitter that like, you know, that's the reason, because he has this moment. I forget which episode it was, so I apologize, but he has this moment where he says, the one that I want to use the right words. Marie Claire, what did you? The one that I took, or the one that I shouldn't have switched, and the one that I chose not to.
Yeah,
that's what he said about. Taewool and Shinjae.
Shinjae.
So Shinjae he chose to take action on, and it seemed like a moment of compassion, but it could have been something else, like him wanting to protect his own son. I don't know. And then Taewool was the one he chose not to do anything with. So again, like maybe he left, going to your theory, Nat, we're all in theory land. He left Luna in the other world, but took Luna's dad as one of the people and like replaced his parents or her parents there.
Oh, my head.
And she was born after those events, so because she was technically younger. So
no, he was 8 and she was 5.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, but still young, very, very young. I don't think, you know.
She wouldn't have noticed the difference, I don't think.
No, and would he have? Maybe there was something going on.
When did her mom die?
When she was 3 years old. So, yeah.
I think she was 5. Maybe she was 3. Like when
she was 3, right?
The difference between the two, I don't know. It's too confusing.
Too confusing. Yeah. But maybe we'll get answers. Maybe we won't. Maybe we're just speculating. It's fine. I love it.
Yeah. Well, that was this 4-episode arc. I cannot believe we are where we are. We only have 4 episodes left, and then we will know all, for good or for bad, how this has ended up. But I've very much enjoyed watching this show. I know that there's been a lot of kind of issues for some people, especially like you both have problems with the editing. I think that it's done on purpose, and I've kind of accepted it and just been like riding it. But I'm just excited to see how this turns out and if they manage to pull it off. That's kind of like...
Yeah, if they manage to pull it off, I think it will actually stand as a good drama.
Yeah.
Because Goblin in itself, like when you're going through it mid-time, has a lot of that weirdness, like especially the mid-season has a lot of like, what is going on? What does this all mean?
Extremely difficult rewatch, actually. If you're not super invested and you know where things are going, then it's kind of hard because of the fact that it slows down so much, and it becomes every scene becomes, oh, I have to die. Oh, I don't want to die. Oh, I have to die. Oh, kill me. Oh, don't kill me. Oh, don't die. Don't tell her that you have to die. You know, and it's like, I mean, that's good drama, but it's not something that has like infinite rewatchability. Whereas something like this, where they have a really, you know, intricate Inception level time and plan, and
it will be an interesting rewatch, because then you're going to be like, oh, that thing.
If it wraps up well, then it could be genius, but then if not, then it's sloppy.
Then it's just another K-drama that we liked, but we, you know, maybe rate 7 or 8 stars on my drama list, and we're okay with it, and we move on. Exactly. But I'm glad that we're doing this podcast around it, because it does kind of speak to the nature of like, well, there's very few stories where you're like, okay, I'm gonna watch along and theorize and figure it out. So
yeah, exactly.
And the fact that it's being released over time gives us the opportunity to actually theorize with it, whereas a lot of shows nowadays that are dropping all at once, we don't have that opportunity. You just kind of go through it and you consume it all, and it's like pros and cons of the Netflix streaming, you know, whole thing. But thank you both for joining me on this amazing thing. I believe that we're gonna have Ty back next episode, so it'll be 4 of us instead of just the 3 of us, and a beautiful picture of gates, because I am obsessed with the 2 gate image.
It's beautiful. Those are great gates. And I think they might have changed the production design, might have changed the there's a whole thing about it. I don't know. I won't get into it, but like now I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch and see where those are.
We haven't seen them yet, so I don't know. But Nat, where can people find you if they are looking for you online to follow all of your memes that you retweet about
I haven't
the
been
show?
posting a lot of memes lately because quarantine's hit me pretty hard, so I apologize for the lack of meme content. But I am at Ashes for Foxes on Twitter. I also post the Meta Machina podcast. That's METAMASHINA. We are coming back for their first new episode on June 1st about the Folk of the Air trilogy. It was a
Yay!
5-hour recording that is now a 4-hour split podcast on that book trilogy. So we have a lot of good stuff there.
Yay. Very excited. Very excited.
And Caitlin, thank you again for coming. And where can people find you and all of your awesome work?
Well, thank you for having me on again. I love talking about K-dramas. So if you want to talk to me about them, you can find me on Twitter at SkyTalkersPod, which is my podcast. And that's usually the handle I lead with first when I'm doing this. But if you want to talk about K-dramas with me, you can find me at my personal handle, which is at Caitlin Flusher.
And I'm Marie-Claire Gould, host of What the Fiction. I also do What the Force. So if you're interested in Star Wars, you can go check out that podcast, or follow me on Marie C. Gould to talk about K-dramas / Asian dramas, because they are the thing that I consume the most because it gives me the most joy.
Yes, the most joy. And the most pain, but then the most joy after the pain. So, her comfort.
Exactly. I'm so excited for you to watch Crash Landing on You, Nat.
I'm going to. Yeah. I started Rookie Historian, and so far has been really good.
I love Rookie Historian.
Yeah. It's on my list as well to watch that one. I'm behind on all of them.
Our drama lists just keep growing every day. If you guys want catered recommendations, me and Marie-Claire, and I'm sure Caitlin too, especially with K-dramas, can always suggest something. Like
Definitely.
And also, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I think any of us would be like, oh, what's your favorite trope? What are you into? Like, here's 5 different dramas you could watch.
Yeah. What do you like? Oh, do you like a doctor and nurse duo? We've got a drama for you.
Got that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Magical realism. I've got a couple there. Reincarnation. What's your vibe?
What are you into?
Yeah.
Girl, what's your sign?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. And,
thanks, everybody. And thanks for chat.
We'll see you in 2 weeks for the finale and the last 4 episodes. Take care.
We'll have our... Take care.